As you know, the Pakistani government are claiming, and I'm quoting them, they are treating Imran Khan like a prince.
He's in a 6'8" cell, washing himself in brown, murky water. They're not even allowing guards to speak to him. It is mental torture, physical and mental torture.
The situation is so bad that even from his perspective, he's thinking, maybe if my son speak, people will hear.
Yeah. He's a man of faith, and he always says, Allah protects me as long as he needs to. The groveling that this Pakistan government is doing to America seems to be working and promising all the natural minerals. And
in 24, you thought Trump might be the guy who comes and does something different.
Definitely had hope, but I think this whole period has kind of made me more cynical about foreign policy in general.
I've interviewed Pakistani politicians on all sides of the spectrum, as you know. They will say that the laws and powers being currently abused to keep your dad wrongfully in prison are the same ones that he and the PTI used when they were in power, that the tables have just turned. You've said you want to go to Pakistan next month, January.
Yeah, that's the plan, I think.
Yeah, maybe Khaja Asif can meet you at the airport.
Yeah, exactly.
Is the British government supporting your struggle, or are they throwing Imran Khan and political dissidents under the bus?
They said, if we do go there, we won't have any kind of protection from their side. If we get arrested...
From the British side?
Yeah.
So do you think if he gets out, he would try and leave the country again? Life today for Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan could not be more different from the life he's known for most of his years. From a beloved national cricket star turned beloved national politician to a political detainee facing more cases than he can count while languishing in brutal prison conditions. Just this month, the UN Special Rapporteur on Torture, Alice Jill Edwards, urged the Pakistani government to take immediate action to address reports of inhumane conditions in the prison where Khan is being held. Conditions which include, quote, excessive periods in solitary confinement, highly restricted access to the outside world, and constant camera surveillance. In fact, Khan was so isolated that last month rumours circulated claiming he had already died in prison and then were later dispelled by a government official. Given Imran Khan's worsening conditions, physically, politically, judicially, his two sons, Suleiman and Qasim Khan, have decided to step into the spotlight to advocate for their father's freedom. And Qasim and Suleiman join me here in the studio in London. Thank you so much for taking time out for this.
Thank you for having us on.
Thanks, Mehdi.
I've got to ask you the obvious question a lot of people want to know. When was the last time you both were able to speak to your dad?
So I last spoke to him at the end of July.
End of July?
Yeah, end of July. But the court in Pakistan has mandated that we have weekly calls, but that's just never been followed throughout his time in prison, which is over 2 years now.
And you?
I spoke to him for for 6 minutes last, and I think that was in around September, about 3 months ago or something like that.
Several months for both of you, even though it's supposed to be a weekly call. And just again, for context, you said in prison for 2 years. When's the last time you saw him in person?
Actually, after he got shot in November 2022, straight after that, I think a week after, that was the last time. We went there for a week, I think.
So over 3 years ago since you've seen him in person, and several months since you've spoken to him. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, the last family member, as of the day we're recording, to visit your father in prison was his sister, Dr. Uzma Khan, on the 2nd of December. What was his condition when she visited him? What did they speak about? Because, as you know, the Pakistani government are claiming, and I'm quoting them, that they are treating Imran Khan like a prince.
Couldn't be less true. I think he's in a 6'8" cell, so barely enough to kind of stand, and he's, the conditions are awful. He's washing himself in brown, murky water. The food he has is, he's not one to complain, but it's apparently dreadful. And to be a prince is, far from it. I know they spoke, the last time they spoke, he was pretty furious, I think, from what we've heard. He was just unhappy with kind of the complete isolation. They're not even allowing guards to speak to him because they want total isolation from any other person, just to try and break him. So it's all very clear torture tactics.
Since that visit from Uzma Khan, no one's been able to visit your father in prison. What reason does the government give you guys when they cut off access visitation rights? You said it's mandated to have a weekly call. What do they tell you is the reason for why it's not happening?
Well, we actually haven't been given an official reason, but I think there was a press conference held by a spokesperson for the army just last Friday, where he alluded to the fact that it was because every time he gets a visit, there's some sort of tweet put out or you know, what he thinks is some sort of incitement to unrest.
They say that he's not allowed to do political
No,
statements.
they
as
say
a
he's not
special
allowed.
prisoner.
They say he's not allowed to speak about politics at all.
Do you guys talk politics with him?
No, not really. We normally just talk about personal things, and then the only time, not even politics, the only time we've brought up how we can help in any way, the line was cut off after 5 minutes immediately. So
how does it work, if you don't mind me asking? Like, what is the protocol? If you want to try and call your dad tonight, what do you do?
No, there's no way. It's just not possible.
When you got through to him in the past, how did you do it?
It wasn't scheduled at all. We just get a WhatsApp message saying,
you can
call from prison in 1 hour, wherever you are.
This could be at like 6 a.m. even.
While you're like him sleeping, the time difference.
At 6 a.m. on a Saturday, we'll get a message saying, be on the line in 3 hours or 2 hours. And we missed some, which were the most infuriating. Because you wake up and suddenly you have missed call from this random WhatsApp number, which we know is the WhatsApp number. So
that's the kind of notice they gave you when they were allowing it, and now you're not even getting those messages. You said you want to go to Pakistan next month, January, if your visa applications are approved. In September, I interviewed Pakistan's defense minister, Khaja Asif, in New York, and he guaranteed to me that you won't be arrested. Let them come, he said. Jemima Khan, Imran's ex-wife, said in July of this year, my children are not allowed to speak on the phone to their father. Pakistan's government has now said if they go there to try and see him, they too will be arrested and put behind bars.
No, they will. It will never happen.
You haven't threatened his children.
You know, I can guarantee that.
You're giving a guarantee
that
Imran Khan's sons, Suleiman and Qasim, can go to Pakistan and meet with their father.
Yeah,
you're giving that guarantee right now.
You know, they can come.
And they won't be arrested. They won't be detained.
They won't be arrested.
Harmed.
They won't be harmed.
Okay. Well, we've seen it. Let's see.
Let them come.
Do you believe the defense minister? Do you believe it's safe for you to now go to Pakistan and visit your dad in person?
Well, they openly said that they stated that we would get arrested if we went there and joined what's going on there.
No, but the defense minister said to me, you won't be arrested.
Exactly. So they've flipped on that. And now, I don't know, we'll see. But to be honest, I think now they've stated it a couple of times publicly, that should be enough of an assurance for us. So
you're going in January?
Well,
if you get the visa?
Yeah, that's the plan, I think. And it's good that we've been guaranteed, supposedly.
Maybe Khaja Asif can meet you at the airport.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to guarantee it, because I know there's lots of different power centers in Pakistan.
And
someone else might say we didn't get the message. I was interested when he said that because it is a challenge, and I'm sure people will be worried about you guys going there because of all what's happened to the PTO. Not just Imran Khan, we should point out there are many members of the party who've been imprisoned, detained, house arrested, etc. Human Rights Watch has just put out a report recently about violence taken towards party members. Last month, of course, as you know better than me, rumours were swirling online claiming your father had died in prison. The rumours were later dispelled by the country's Information Minister Atullah Tarar, who said your father is hale and hearty. What was it like to wake up to online news, quote unquote, that your dad has died? I can't imagine what that must feel like.
Yeah, it was incredibly stressful. I saw it on X pop up on my feed, and I kind of went on WhatsApp and asked my family members in Pakistan, is there any truth to this? And they were quite quick to try and reassure us and say, I'm sure they wouldn't touch him. But the reality was that they hadn't seen him for a whole month. They weren't allowed to see him for the whole month of November. So they couldn't actually confirm anything to us. But yeah.
What was it like for you when you saw it?
Got it. I mean, so it's hard to carry on with your normal life when you're opening your phone every time you go on Twitter or whatever. You're seeing kind of different news, his body being transported from the jail, and all of these reports. It's very hard to just carry on with your normal life when I'm sat at my office working, and then you have that in the back of your head, but you just try and get on with it.
Do you trust Minister Tarar's assessment of your father's health, that he's hale and hearty?
I hope it's true. I hope it is true. But in those conditions, at his age, it's hard to say really. But yeah, I hope it is true.
He's mentally very, very tough, which always gives me confidence. If anyone could get through this, he can. But it is mental torture. physical and mental torture, and he's really having to kind of test his limits here.
You mentioned the family WhatsApp group, people saying to you, no, they wouldn't do it to him. Alima Khan, Imran's sister, your aunt, tweeted last month that the only reason we believe him to be safe is because the authorities would not dare to hurt even a hair on Imran Khan's head. Do you agree with your aunt?
I mean, maybe I find it. I have a slightly different opinion. What they're doing to him right now is it's torture. Maybe they're not directly, whipping him or whatever, but they are. The conditions he's in are completely inhumane. It's a torture tactic to not allow anyone to speak to him for this amount of time, to shut off electricity. 1 hour a day he's allowed outdoors. That is the definition of solitary confinement. I saw in the interview with Musharraf, he was saying...
This is Musharraf Zaidi, the Prime Minister's spokesman.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. He stated that, it's not solitary confinement, all of this kind of stuff. 23 hours in a cell is solitary confinement. That's the definition of solitary confinement.
And also, sorry, just to add on to that, according to the UN, I think over 15 days without being allowed to any visitations is considered solitary confinement, and he wasn't allowed any visits for the whole of November. So
yeah, the UN Special Rapporteur has also obviously put out this report, which the Pakistani government are rejecting. As it stands, what do you understand to be your father's legal situation? I feel like I can't keep up. Like one case gets dropped, another one gets thrown at him. What time is he serving right now? What cases are pending? What charges is he facing? How would you explain it to someone who said, what's your dad on trial for? What's he charged with?
I actually find it very hard to follow as well, because I think there's been over 200 cases now. And
Wow.
just every time these cases are overturned, more cases are filed.
And they have them ready to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they don't want him out.
Yeah. I think Amnesty International released a statement saying that the Pakistani government or establishment were using the legal system to keep him in prison.
And additionally, going back to that interview with Musharraf Zaidi, he states that our father's had around 400 or something meetings with lawyers. He's calling those meetings, the court hearings themselves are what he's defining as those meetings. So the reason why he's having all of these meetings is because he's going to court, where not even going to court, the court is held in jail.
Yes, wasn't there a judge who recently complained about the fact that he had to join via WhatsApp?
Because they're not allowing him out of the cell.
It's a strange way to have a free and fair trial.
Exactly. And so all of those meetings with lawyers, they're within the confines of a court case.
Your dad's been in prison since, I think, August of 2023. You both chose not to speak out about his detention at the time when it happened. But in May of this year, I think it was, that you first broke your silence for the first time. You've carried on doing interviews. You're doing this interview with me. What has made you want to speak out like this?
We're private people. It's not that we chose not to speak online. We never would have spoken. We've never been political or spoken publicly about virtually anything. The situation right now is so desperate that we have to, we're forced to kind of take some kind of action, as opposed to feeling as helpless as we felt. Yeah.
Did your father talk to you about doing media? Did you consult with him that is this the right thing for us to do? Do you want us to do this?
Yeah, well, we asked him before our first interview, and he said, yeah, do it if you feel comfortable, and just gave us a few pointers.
Because in the past, I understand that he wanted to keep you out of politics.
Yeah, exactly.
But the situation is so bad that even from his perspective, he's thinking, maybe if my son speak, people were here.
Yeah, I think so.
Have Pakistani media reached out to you? Would you be allowed on
Not
Pakistani
directly.
media? I know your dad's now banned from being on Pakistani media.
Yeah, I doubt it, because his name's not even allowed.
Well, if you go in January, I can assure you there'll be some microphones shoved in your faces.
No.
So, Qasim, you've previously said your father believes that he's grown more in these past 2 years than he has in the previous 20. How so?
So he says he's grown spiritually and mentally. He says he's been strategizing for the past, especially for the beginning of the first 8 months. He said it was a gift being in there because he didn't have his phone, he didn't have people who were constantly at his door asking him for things, or he had full time to focus on what he could do to solve Pakistan's issues. And when he came into government in 2013, he was shocked by how entrenched the corruption was at every single level of every single industry. And so he was overwhelmed at the time. He has spent this time coming up with strategy. He spent this time meditating. He said he's found a kind of Zen state, essentially. He said there was a period where he went, I think he went 10 days in complete, there was one period where no electricity was in the room. No one kind of came through, and it was complete darkness. And he said in that period, the first 2 days were very, very difficult. But from there, he went into a kind of Zen state where he said they could have left me in there for a year and I would have been fine. So,
and your dad is obviously known for being a very sociable person. He's obviously a politician. He was a famous sportsman. To be the Zen state is not something someone like him chooses.
No. And he's an outdoorsman as well, naturally. So he hates being even confined to a city. So he's always wanted to live in, outside of urban areas.
You mentioned strategizing. Is he using prison time to work out a plan to come back if he were to ever get out?
Well, yeah, in his mind, he will be back, and he will be. He's the most popular candidate in Pakistan by a landslide.
I mean, it's hard to describe how popular he is. True story. I'm here in London. I took an Uber to get to the studio. Uber pulls up outside. The guy said, "Oh, you're Mehdi Hassan. Oh, I love your stuff." I said, "Thank you very much. Where are you from?" He said, "Pakistan." I said, knowing that I was about to come interview you, I said, "What do you think of Imran Khan? Are you a fan?" And he goes, "Sir," I sound like Donald Trump now because his stories always start with "sir." He said, "Sir, I would give my life for him." And then he burst into tears. Swear, that's not happened to me in an Uber before. I thought, wow, that is like an interesting timing that this happened. People love your father in a way that most politicians don't command that kind of support. Have you seen that anywhere else?
Definitely, yeah. I've had similar. Well, maybe not someone bursting into tears, but I've definitely seen people in the UK, all over the UK, kind of express like similar like emotions.
What's really telling is that, and a big reason for his popularity is after playing cricket, after winning the World Cup, he really didn't need to go into politics or kind of make that move, but he dedicated his life to it. I think what's very clear is that it's his life mission. He's the first politician in a long time in Pakistan who cares for the country, not for personal gain, not for power, not for wealth, like all of these, his opposition. He has a single-minded goal to rid Pakistan of corruption. It's because he lived abroad, he lived in England, and he saw what a stable economy and government can be like.
One thing I wanted to ask you guys, the popularity can cut both ways, right? It's good to be popular and loved, but that can make people make bad decisions, right? It can go to your head. Anyone who's in public life, he was not just a politician, but a famous sports star. Some people have suggested that the reason he's stuck in prison is because of that. It's because he's got what his second wife, Raham Khan, called his God complex. Critics in the Pakistani media call it a Messiah-like complex. The Nation newspaper said he really believes that he's the chosen one. Do you see any truth in those descriptions? And is that hindering your dad's ability to cut a deal, to get out? Because he says, no, I can't, because I'm the person Pakistan needs. Do you get where I'm coming from?
I would say it's more his genuine integrity, and some might call it stubbornness, but he's just not the sort of person who's going to cut a deal like almost every other politician in Pakistan. It's going to be difficult to convince him to make any sort of compromise.
Yeah, he prides himself on his honor, on his integrity. And that's, as Solomon said, it's he's the antithesis to all of these opposition politicians who will cut any deal. They'll do whatever they can to cling on to power. He would never do that, and that's why he's not taking any sort of deal.
I think every former Pakistani Prime Minister has been in prison at some point
Yeah.
or another. A pretty detailed article was published in The Economist last month. It delved into your father's relationship with his current wife, third wife, Bushra Bibi, who's also being detained by the Pakistani government. They cite a lot of people saying she wields a lot of sway over your dad's decisions. They quote one of your father's former ministers, a close ally called Faisal Vauda, who says he was, quote, frustrated to find that Bushra Bibi seemed to be involved in every discussion. He heard about one meeting between Khan and the head of the army at the time, General Bajwa, in which Bushra Bibi spoke more than either of them. The Economist even points to people saying the Pakistani ISI was using her to influence your dad. You must have heard these reports. What do you make of them?
To be honest, I mean, we don't know her all that well. We've met her a few times, but she speaks Urdu. We don't speak very good Urdu, so one understands it well. And in terms of politics, I mean, I don't know the kind of political landscape.
All we hear from our father's perspective is like, well, and whenever we speak to him on the phone, he seems to still be the same man and making his own decisions and in control of, yeah.
And the other thing that critics say, and I just want to put this to you, the critics will say, and I've interviewed Pakistani politicians on all sides of the spectrum, as you know, they will say that the laws and powers being currently abused to keep your dad wrongfully in prison are the same ones that he and the PTI used when they were in power, that the tables have just turned. For example, in 2021, Human Rights Watch detailed how the government your father led expanded their use of draconian sedition and counter-terrorism laws to stifle dissent. When he was Prime Minister, Nawaz Sharif wasn't allowed to be on TV. Now Shehbaz Sharif's Prime Minister and your dad's not allowed to be on TV. Seems to be a Pakistani political thing.
But I think Nawaz Sharif, he had a long prison sentence, and if you use him as an example, he spent most of his prison sentence in London, especially essentially living as a free man, and now he's back in the country. His brother's Prime Minister, and he's all of his.
Your dad's been uniquely treated amongst Pakistani politicians,
completely.
Historically even.
Yeah,
100%.
I think the conditions that he's in, and the solitary confinement, everything is quite unique.
Your mother, Jemima, recently tweeted at Elon Musk about your father's case, your inability to visit or speak to him. She accused Musk's platform of throttling any content advocating for your father's release. Have you guys experienced that online? Do you think Twitter and Musk are towing the Pakistani government line just like they've towed other government lines?
So, I mean, I don't use Twitter all that much. If I do use it, it's to speak out about this when I need to. So I don't keep tabs on my impressions and things like that. But my mother was
She's a huge following. And she
has a huge following. She's active. And she used Grok, funnily enough, ironically, to figure out that she was actively being throttled, her account was being throttled, as soon as Pakistan seemed to reactivate Twitter after banning it previously. So it's a very strange situation.
Do you know if Musk or Twitter have responded to your mum's
No responses yet, and that's quite telling, I reckon.
Indeed. Musk is always responding to everyone all the time. The Pakistani government was massively unpopular after what has been described as mega election rigging in the 2024 elections. Fast forward to this year, it's a very different government in terms of public perception. The war with India has basically made the government much more popular, seem like it's more effective. The Pakistani military claimed to have downed 5 Indian jets. Donald Trump then backed their story. Indians were upset about that. Are you worried that a more popular Pakistani government now has less pressure on it to release your dad?
To an extent, yeah, especially with their relationship they built up with the US and Saudi Arabia as well, and other countries. They're trying to kind of butter up these leaders. So to an extent.
I mean, you had Asim Munir, who is now Field Marshal, head of the Pakistani military, the most powerful Pakistani military chief perhaps ever. He visited Donald Trump not once, but twice this year. Another visit is expected soon. What was it like watching those meetings take place? This is the man your dad once sacked as head of the ISI. Very close to Trump now. It's a problem. It's a problem for you guys as campaigning for his release.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely disheartened to see that. But
You went to the US as well this year. You met with members of Congress on both sides of the aisle. You met with Richard Grenell, his close ally of Donald Trump, special envoy of his. Did you get anywhere in terms of these meetings, in terms of putting any kind of pressure on the US government to do something?
Well, he was very supportive of
Grinnell.
Yeah, he was very supportive. He didn't promise anything to us, but he said he kindly said that he'd raise the issue and carry on supporting us on X, which he did even before we'd met him or had any contact.
Yeah, he was
with him.
tweeting free Imran Khan.
Exactly.
But it hasn't translated into policy.
No, exactly.
Unfortunately, he didn't get, from your perspective, he didn't get a top job in the administration, Secretary of State, or one of those gigs that might have allowed it. I think he's special envoy for something or another. Did you have any other joy while you were in the US? Anything you came back hopeful about?
There were a load of meetings, and we were somewhat confident by the end of it that we would be able to make some impact. But I think it seems that the groveling that this Pakistan government is doing to America seems to be working and promising all the natural minerals and
Crypto as well.
Crypto, whatever they can do to kind of bow
Nobel
down to
Peace Prize.
Nobel Peace
They've nominated
Prize.
him once. I believe they're going to nominate him again, Shahbaz Sharif has said, which Donald Trump loves. I mean, during the election campaign, I met a lot of Pakistani Americans who thought Donald Trump was going to be the guy who freed Imran Khan. A group of Pakistani Americans set up a pack where they endorsed Trump, quite controversial, when many other Muslims were like, you can't go near Trump. And they said it was because Imran Khan. There were AI videos, I'm sure you saw them, of Donald Trump walking into prison and opening the door and escorting your dad out. This is what people hoped for. We don't look anywhere close to that right now. It looks like Donald Trump is actually pals with Munir and has no interest in doing anything for your dad.
You can only assume it's business at a certain point. However much they might be
Did you
pals.
have hope as well? I'm just
I had
wondering
hope,
that
yeah.
in 24 you thought Trump might be the guy who
yeah.
comes and does something different.
Definitely had hope, but I think this whole period has kind of made me more cynical about foreign policy in general. I think most countries are quite self-serving.
Yeah.
And of course, your dad was very critical of the US.
Yeah.
There's an argument that he made, another rounder made, that his toppling from office was driven by the Biden administration. There is that whole debate. When I interviewed him in prison, not in person, that was one of the things I raised with him, and he said it was Bajwa and it was the military who coordinate with the US. So it would be ironic if the US were to come involved on his side, but it doesn't look likely. On Munir, something I asked Imran about when I interviewed him last year. Aren't you worried that your dad picking a fight with Munir, the most powerful, ruthless man in Pakistan, a man who could have him, God forbid, executed tomorrow? This is your top tweet on your dad's Twitter feed right now. I quote, Asim Munir is a mentally unstable person whose moral degradation has led to the complete collapse of the constitution and the rule of law in Pakistan. You're smiling, cousin, because that's your dad being outspoken. But that must worry you, surely.
It does, yeah. But that's his character. Yeah.
But when you had those brief calls with him, were you telling him, tone it down, Dad?
No, he goes headfirst into danger historically, and we kind of accepted it at a young age that he was going to go into very dangerous situations. And
did you always understand that, even as teenagers, when your dad was having a political career? It's not like a political career in Henley and Thames or in Surrey. It's a political career in Pakistan and get you killed.
Well, when I was young, before even being a teenager, I hated him being in politics and would always ask him, because he'd take these kind of corrupt, very aggressive, outspoken leaders on, and there would always be talk of his life being in danger. So I was always stressed about it, but I think we've just got used to it over 10, 15 years of his life being in danger. He's almost died twice.
Yeah.
It's also his successes, the fact that he's come through those situations, he's put these kind of criminals in prison repeatedly, I think gave us kind of confidence and has given us confidence. And he's a man of faith, and he always says Allah protects me as long as he needs to. So another reason why someone like Bajwa wouldn't be executing him is because he'd know he would instantly martyr him, and then the whole country would probably riot and take him down separately.
Not only did Munir, who's the current military chief, visit the US, he also visited the UK in February. And there were reports earlier this month, not sure if you saw them, that the Pakistani government might be offering to take back criminal grooming gang leaders from the UK in exchange for Britain handing over Pakistani political dissidents living in the UK. You're here in the UK, you're British citizens, born and bred. Is the British government supporting your struggle, or are they throwing Imran Khan and political dissidents under the bus?
Well, that's quite shocking. I hadn't actually heard that, the talk of the exchange. But yeah, the British government so far, I'd say, have been quite passive about the situation.
Have you had any conversation with David Lammy, Keir Starmer?
We've had kind of indirect.
It's not David Lammy who's foreign minister anymore.
Yeah.
Yvette Cooper.
We have spoken to David Lammy though.
Yeah, he was foreign secretary until very recently. You have spoken, but you don't think they're being active enough?
Yeah, I would say that they're not being active enough.
Why do you think that is?
I think they don't want to, muddy their hands in any of this stuff. They urged us not to go to Pakistan.
Next month, they're telling you not to go.
Where this was a while
this
back.
is before.
Yeah.
And they said if we do go there, we won't have any kind of protection from their side. If we get arrested,
From the British side.
yeah, no, nothing.
But you're British citizens. What does that mean?
Well, I mean, they said it is what it is.
I mean, I can understand them saying, "Don't go. It's not safe. We can't." But you'd think the British government would look after two prominent British citizens who are going to see
You
their
would.
father, the former prime minister.
You would.
But this is the Labour government saying we can't offer you that kind of protection or guarantees.
Yeah.
Wow. If your father was offered a deal in exchange for being freed, something along the lines of stay out of politics, go live abroad, would you both advise him to take that deal?
Well, as much as on a personal level, I'd love him to be here and love to see him because it's been obviously 3 years now. I know that he'd be miserable if he couldn't be actively involved in politics. I think even if he was in exile, if he wasn't directly involved, he just wouldn't be happy because he sees it as his mission.
I remember he once said, I think a couple of times he said, he was laughing about English politics, and he was saying, I mean, if I was in English politics, I'd shoot myself in the head. It's so boring, because his life is,
he enjoys the drama.
where he lives in it, and I think he understands how much it's necessary, how much it's needed, and that's why I think he has the popularity he has, because it's not like England where a new government comes in and minor changes are taxes slightly changes. Over there, the prime minister can be the difference between life and death for a lot of people.
But I get that's his perspective, and you've made that clear very eloquently that he's a man of principle, integrity. I've met the man. I know what you're talking about. He's clearly making sacrifices staying in prison. I get that. I'm asking about you guys. I get that you admire your dad and you think this is what is good for him and this is what he needs. But as his sons, who haven't met him, I think you said 3 years in person, surely the sons in you would be like, just come to England and chill out with us and be safe.
But yeah, we toy with the idea sometimes. It would be just amazing to see him, walking around in our uncle's house which is like this rewilded heaven that he would love. Just the idea of it is obviously amazing. It's idyllic, but I know that he would only be able to be there for a week or two before he would be fully depressed. So
do you think if he gets out, he would try and lead the country again?
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, he has a single track mind.
And you both wouldn't be there saying, just let it go. No. You've done what you had to do.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's what keeps him alive.
I've got to ask. I'm going to ask you, Qasim, this because I saw there's lots of deep fake videos doing the rounds since your last interview. One of them has you claiming that you're going to go take part in Pakistani politics. Do you want to confirm or deny that deep fake?
Yeah, I know. It's. I don't know if they have enough footage of my voice because I come out with some kind of Australian Cockney twang. But
people believe it.
But
I met someone today who said, "Oh, he's going to run for." His son said he'll run for office if he doesn't get released. I said, "That's a deep fake."
Yeah, I know. Except I guess that's the world we live in now. So you just have to put up with it.
I got to ask, where do you both find hope? We talked about it's not a great situation. The British government not muddying their hands with it. Donald Trump quite friends with Munir. Pakistani government holding him in solitary confinement. Where do you both find hope that your father may be freed one day? Is there a scenario you think about where it could happen? What keeps you going, that you're going to keep speaking out, keep campaigning?
I guess me personally would be that just from personal experience, not really believing that he'd always tell us growing up, I will be Prime Minister one day, even when his party were a bit of a laughing stock.
Yes.
And
He certainly overcame
and
the
I
odds.
didn't really believe it. No one around us really believed it, and he did it. So I don't. So yeah, I don't want to doubt him in the same way as I did back then. And also, the best. I think international pressure is the best hope we've got. Really, realistically.
I mean, yeah, we no offense to you, but we don't love doing this stuff. It's not our it's not our wheelhouse. As I said, we're private people, but we'll do whatever now because it's horrible feeling completely helpless. So any way we can try and make a difference or try and help him in any way, we'll do it.
Of course. And just for people watching who are fans of your dad as a sportsman in particular, what are your fondest memories of your childhood with your dad? Because I know you used to fly out to Pakistan. He obviously spent a lot of time in England with your late grandmother who passed away. My condolences. What are your fondest memories when you're thinking about him? He's in prison, you haven't seen him for years. How are you remembering him?
I always remember, I mean, we would play cricket for hours, just me and Suleiman, like pretending to be different bowlers and things like that. And he would just circle. We were on a tennis court and he would just circle the whole time, throwing a ball up and down and just watching. And occasionally you'd get it good, like that. And
he spent hours and hours bowling at us as well, to the point where he'd just be stiff because at that age, I guess, you're not used to it. But just
trot in and bowl some in swingers. It might it wouldn't be very fast, but it would just come at you.
And then in Pakistan, his favorite place in the world is just the mountains in Pakistan, the kind of Himalayan foothills. He'd take us on 6-hour hikes, which at a young age wasn't my favorite thing, but now I would love to do.
Well, maybe you will get a chance again. Are you still playing cricket?
Yes.
Yeah, casually.
Who's the better player?
I would say myself.
Oh, that's nonsense.
Oh, I thought you were going to agree as a kind of younger brother. No
way. No, I'm not deferring to that. He's the opening batsman of our team, and I'm the opening bowler. So we're very different ends of the spectrum. But no, I think I'm the more rounded player.
Okay, more rounded player. Qasim, Suleiman, thank you so much for taking time out. I know this is a difficult time for you. I do hope you get to spend some time in the mountains with your father. As I say, the UN and many other human rights groups are saying, whatever you think about Imran Khan, his detention right now is unlawful and wrong. I do hope people will hear the message you're putting out. I would point out, in the interests of a right of response, the Pakistani government says he's being treated like a prince, I think is the quote they've used. They think his detention is fine. We'll see what happens with these cases. But for now, thank you so much for taking time out today. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having us.
Appreciate it, Mehdi. Thank you.